I saw them through the limo's tinted window long before they saw me, my mother, my father, and my brother. The same people who'd laughed as they handed me a crumpled $10 bill and told me to never come back. The scorn that used to twist their faces was gone, replaced by a raw, desperate hope. They were just standing there on the cracked pavement of the house I grew up in, the house they were about to lose. The polished black door opened with a soft whoosh, and a heavy silence fell over them. In that one moment, they didn't see the son they'd thrown away. They saw a solution. They saw a walking, talking bank account, and they were about to ask me for help. Have you ever been so underestimated that it became your superpower? Let me know in the comments. To understand how we got here, we have to go back. 10 years back, I wasn't the man stepping out of a limo. I was just a boy with a dream they thought was a joke. Subscribe now for more emotional family drama stories. And tell me in the comments, if your family threw you out with $10, would you help them when they came begging? My name is Tiana Brooks, and when I tell you my family never believed in me, I mean that in the most literal way possible. I grew up in the south side of Chicago, in a small 2-story house that smelled like grease, motor oil, and Sunday dinner. My daddy, Robert Brooks, ran a small auto shop, Brooks & Sons Automotive, that had been in our family for 2 generations. My mama handled the books, though mostly that meant chasing invoices and praying customers paid on time. From as far back as I can remember, my big brother Marcus was the favorite. He was Daddy's right hand, the one who understood business. I was the dreamer, the one who wasted time on computers. I'd always been the one asking why. Why couldn't we have a website? Why didn't we take credit cards? Why couldn't we modernize? But every time I opened my mouth, Daddy would shake his head, the same worn-down rag hanging from his pocket. "Baby, we fix cars," he'd say, half a laugh in his voice. "We ain't out here doing all that fancy tech nonsense. You can't fix an engine from behind a screen." I'd nod. But something inside me always burned. That quiet knowing that I was meant for more than greasy floors and secondhand dreams. When I graduated from community college with a degree in computer science, it felt like the beginning of something big. I came home one afternoon, laptop in hand, and told them I had a plan, a full digital proposal to grow the shop online. I'd even built a demo site. The pitch was simple. We could offer online scheduling, car pickup services, automated invoicing. It could double, even triple revenue. I spent nights on that plan, every detail color-coded, every number cross-checked. I thought if they saw the work, they'd finally see me. But when I presented it at the kitchen table, it didn't go the way I'd imagined. Daddy barely looked up from his paper. "Tiana, we ain't got time for no pipe dreams. This shop been fine for 40 years. We don't need your fancy website." "Daddy," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "The world's changing. People find mechanics online now. We're invisible without an online presence," he snorted. "Invisible? I've been right here fixing cars for half this city since before you was born. If they need me, they know where to find me." Mama gave me that quiet warning look, the one that meant drop it before he gets mad. But I couldn't let it go. "Daddy, the shop's struggling," I said, voice rising. "You barely keeping up with bills, and Marcus..." Marcus slammed his hand on the table. "Don't talk about me like I ain't sitting here. You think just 'cause you got a little degree you smarter than us?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "No, Marcus. I think I work harder than you." That did it. Daddy's face turned red. "That's enough," he shouted. He stood, his chair scraping back against the linoleum. "You think that diploma make you better than this family? You forget who put food in your mouth." "I'm trying to help you," I said, my voice breaking now. "I'm trying to make things better for all of us." "You want to make things better?" He sneered, marching to Mama's purse and pulling out a crumpled bill. "Here, there's $10. Go start your big tech empire, Miss College graduate." He tossed it at me, the paper hitting my chest and fluttering to the floor. I froze. For a second, I thought he'd take it back, that he'd realize what he was doing. But he didn't. Marcus laughed. Loud, sharp, mean. "There's your startup money, sis," he said. I looked at Mama. Her eyes were glossy, but she didn't move. She didn't defend me. That silence hurt worse than Daddy's words. So I picked up that $10 bill, folded it neatly, and said quietly, You'll regret this. Then I walked out the front door, the screen creaking behind me, and the sound of the lock clicking echoing like the end of a chapter. The city felt different that night. The air was thick with the smell of rain and exhaust. I had nothing but my backpack, my laptop, and that $10 bill. I spent the first few nights crashing on my friend Jasmine's couch, trying to figure out what to do next. The $10 was gone in 2 days. Instant noodles, a bus pass, and a coffee I couldn't afford. Each night, I'd stare at my laptop, scrolling through job boards, rejection emails piling up. Tech jobs wanted experience I didn't have, and the little I had to show, a sleek but unpaid prototype for my father's shop, meant nothing to them. One night, Jasmine found me crying quietly at her kitchen table. "Girl," she said, "you too smart to let them break you. You just need one yes." That's it. Her words stuck. So I started freelancing. Small stuff at first. Building websites for hair salons, local DJs, anyone willing to pay $50. It wasn't glamorous, but it was something. I kept a sticky note on my laptop that said, "You don't need their approval to shine." Months passed, then a year. The jobs got better. My confidence grew. But deep down, I carried that image of them laughing, that crumpled $10 bill in Daddy's hand. It wasn't just money. It was a challenge. There were nights I wanted to quit. Nights I questioned why I was fighting so hard for people who wouldn't even clap for me, but every doubt was fuel. When my first big client, a Black-owned grocery co-op, paid me $3,000 to revamp their online ordering system, I stared at that invoice in disbelief. I took a screenshot, printed it, and taped it to my wall. It was proof that belief could pay bills. I built slowly, brick by digital brick, until I had my own little startup, Brooks Digital Designs. The name was deliberate, a reminder that I'd taken the same last name that used to hold me back and made it mean something new. By the time I turned 29, my business was thriving. Clients from all over the Midwest, a small team of 3. I'd gone from sleeping on a couch to renting a downtown loft with exposed brick walls and sunlight that made my plants thrive. But no matter how far I climbed, one memory stayed vivid. Daddy's hand, tossing that $10 bill at me like it was all I was worth. I swore one day I'd show him what that $10 had turned into. So when I got the call 10 years later, I knew exactly what it would be before I even answered. The number flashed Mama home. I stared at it for a long second before picking up. "Tiana?" Her voice was thin, almost unfamiliar. "Baby, we've been hearing about your business. We're so proud." I didn't respond. I let her fill the silence. "Well," she continued hesitantly, "things haven't been easy. Your daddy's shop? We hit some hard times. Marcus's investments didn't work out. The bank's talking foreclosure." I could hear the edge of shame in her voice, but also expectation. "We just need a little help," she said finally. "A loan just to get back on our feet. We're still family, right? Family. That word again. Soft, manipulative, familiar." I took a slow breath. "I'll be in town Friday," I said. "We can talk then." And that's how I ended up in a black SUV, parked outside the same house where my father once told me I'd never make it. When I stepped out, the 3 of them were standing there looking smaller than I remembered. The paint on the porch peeled like old memories, the Brooks and Sons sign fading behind them. Mama's voice quivered first. "You came," I smiled faintly. "You asked me to." People love to talk about the glow-up. They love the before and after photos, the look who's winning now moments, the shiny pieces. But they never want to sit through the in-between, the grind, the hunger, the doubt that hits you like Chicago wind in February. My in-between started the night I left that house with a $10 bill and a backpack. At first, I didn't think I'd survive it. I moved in with my college friend, Jasmine, who lived in a cramped studio in Bronzeville, the kind of place where the radiator hissed like it had opinions, and the kitchen light flickered every few minutes. We shared takeout boxes and hope. She worked night shifts at the hospital, and I spent my nights at her small table, laptop open, freelancing like my life depended on it, because it did. My first gig paid $40. Some local barber wanted a Facebook page and a logo. He never even used it. But when the payment notification hit my inbox, I felt rich. I built small websites for people who couldn't afford real developers. Beauty salons, cleaning services, one lady who sold vegan candles out of her living room. I charged whatever they could pay, $75, $100, sometimes just enough for groceries. But every site I built, every line of code I wrote, sharpened my skills. Each client became a line on a portfolio that slowly started to look professional. Still, money was tight. Real tight. There were nights when dinner was ramen and tap water. Days when I skipped meals to stretch groceries. Jasmine once caught me slicing mold off bread and just sighed. "You can't starve yourself to success, T," she said. I smiled. "Watch me." I said it like a joke, but it was true. Hunger, literal and emotional, became my fuel. The turning point came in a place most people overlook. The Harold Washington Library downtown. It was freezing outside. But inside, that library became my sanctuary. Free Wi-Fi, heat, and the quiet hum of people chasing their own kind of salvation. I'd sit for hours at a corner desk, coding, researching, applying for small gigs on freelance platforms. One afternoon, while scrolling through my old emails, I found a message from a professor I'd had in college, Dr. Harris. He'd always believed in me, even when my own father called my passion playing on the computer. The subject line read, "Proud of you, Tiana." It was dated months before I'd been thrown out. In it, he'd written, "Your senior project was brilliant. You don't realize it yet, but your ideas could change how small businesses survive in the digital age. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small for thinking big." I sat there in that library with tears in my eyes, the screen glowing soft against my face. For the first time since leaving home, I felt seen. I emailed him that night. Told him everything, about being kicked out, about freelancing, about how close I was to giving up. I hit send and tried not to hope. He replied within an hour. "I can't offer money, but I can offer opportunity. A small bookstore on the west side needs a website. They can't pay much, but they'll give you a workspace. Take it. Show them what you can do." It was the first real door that opened. The bookstore was called Page Turners, tucked between a laundromat and a fried chicken spot. The owner, Ms. Wanda, was a 60-something widow with salt and pepper curls and the kind of no-nonsense kindness that reminded me of my mama. If my mama had ever believed in me. "You the computer girl?" she asked when I first walked in. "Yes, ma'am." She looked me up and down, then smiled. "Good. That old site we got looks like it was built back when Obama was in office. You fix that and I'll feed you." She wasn't joking. Every afternoon, she'd bring me a plate of catfish and collard greens while I coded in a dusty back corner of the shop. In return, I built her an online store that didn't just look professional. It worked. Orders started coming in from all over the city. She bragged to every customer who'd listen. "My website got me 3 new book clubs this week. Y'all better call that Tiana girl if you want your business to move." That one job changed everything. Word spread, from barbers to boutiques to bakeries. Within 6 months, I had more requests than I could handle. Jasmine helped me set up an official business, Brooks Digital Design. The name was symbolic. A reminder that even when your family doesn't support your foundation, you can still build something worth your name. The next few years were brutal but beautiful. I lived lean, saved every penny, and reinvested everything into my business. My office was a second-hand desk from Craigslist, squeezed between my bed and a window. But I treated it like a corner suite. There were setbacks. Clients who ghosted after I delivered projects. Scammers who paid with bad checks. Nights when the Wi-Fi cut out mid-upload and I cried in frustration. But each time I wanted to quit, I thought of that $10 bill. I kept it pinned above my desk like a promise. It became my motivation. Not to spite them, but to remind myself that I could turn insult into investment. Then came my big break. A regional hardware supplier, one of the main competitors to my father's shop, found me through Ms. Wanda's referral. They needed a full e-commerce rebuild. I bid low just to get my foot in the door, and when they accepted, I worked like my life depended on it. For 6 weeks, I barely slept. I coded through migraines fueled by cheap coffee and gospel playlists. When the site finally launched, their sales doubled within 2 months. The owner, Mr. Hayes, called me personally. "Miss Brooks," he said, "you're a miracle worker. You ever think about hiring a team? That question flipped a switch in me. A month later, I had my first 2 hires, other young Black developers who'd been overlooked by corporate firms. We worked out of my living room, eating pizza at 2 a.m., laughing through bugs and deadlines. We didn't just build websites. We built possibility. By my 3rd year, Brooks Digital wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. We had clients across Illinois, a small office downtown, and a reputation for delivering results that big agencies couldn't match. The first time I saw my company name printed on a local business magazine's Top Women in Tech list, I cried. Not because I'd made it, but because I knew the girl holding that $10 bill a decade ago wouldn't have believed it was possible. But even success comes with ghosts. Every time a new client praised me, every check I deposited, every milestone I hit, I'd hear Daddy's voice in my head. "We ain't got time for your pipe dreams." Those words had built walls in me, walls I was only now learning how to tear down. Jasmine would tease me about it sometimes. "Girl, you got more money than your daddy ever dreamed of, and you still acting like you gotta prove something." She wasn't wrong. Maybe part of me still wanted him to see me, to admit he was wrong. Maybe part of me wanted Mama to pick up the phone one day just to say she was proud. But that call never came. Not until the day everything came full circle. It was a Tuesday morning. I was sitting in my office, sunlight pouring through the big glass window that overlooked the skyline, when my phone buzzed. Mama home. I hadn't seen that name in years. My stomach dropped. I answered after the 3rd ring. "Tiana?" Her voice was trembling, hesitant. "It's been a long time." "It has," I said quietly. She hesitated, then, "We heard about your business." "Your daddy? He don't say it much, but we're proud." I said nothing. She continued, voice cracking. "Baby, we're in trouble. The shop. It's not doing well. Marcus made some bad choices. The bank's coming for the house. There it was. The truth under the sweetness. We just need a little help," she whispered. "A loan maybe, just to get back on our feet. You know, family helping family. Family." That word again. The same word that had been a sword and a shield in their mouths. I exhaled slowly. "I'll be in Chicago on Friday. We can talk then." And so I did. When the car pulled up in front of that same house, the one I'd left 10 years ago, I almost didn't recognize it. The porch was peeling. The Brooks and Sons sign hung crooked, its paint faded by time and debt. I saw them standing out front. Mama, Daddy, and Marcus. They looked smaller than I remembered. Worn. Fragile. When I stepped out of the car, Mama clutched her purse like a lifeline. "You came?" she said softly. "You asked me to," I replied. Daddy's face was a shadow of the man I once feared. Gray hair, tired eyes. Marcus couldn't even look at me. They talked. About the loans, the bills, the foreclosure. How times are hard. How nobody saw this coming. They blamed the market, the banks, even bad luck. But not once did they say, sorry. Not once did they acknowledge the night they threw me out with $10. Finally, Daddy looked at me. "We just need a little help to get back on our feet. You've got the means now. Help your family, baby girl." I looked at the house, then at them, the same people who'd watched me walk away like I was disposable. And I smiled. A calm, quiet smile. When I stepped off the car and saw the 3 of them on the sagging porch, something inside me thinned out. Not anger so much as a cold, clear knowing. The years had carved their faces into different maps than the ones I grew up memorizing. Daddy's shoulders had bowed a little more. Marcus's swagger was gone like someone pulled the air out of a balloon. Mama stood with her hands folded over her purse, an old habit of hers when she wanted to look composed. They started talking the minute I reached the steps. It was the same choreography they'd practiced for years. The plaintive voice, the shame that tried to be small. The practiced humility meant to invite pity. They wanted money. They wanted salvation. They wanted me to erase a decade with a check. "Baby," Mama said, voice thick. "We didn't mean for it to go like this. We messed up. We thought Marcus could handle things. The bank?" She trailed off, eyes wet. Daddy looked at me like a man peeking over a ledger. Tiana, this is family business. We raised you. You got success now? Help your family. It's what you do. Marcus couldn't look me in the eye. Tia, please. I messed up. I'll pay you back. Just a loan. $200,000. We lost accounts. The supplier cut us. $200,000. The number hung there, huge and indifferent to anything but accounting. In the past, I might have crumpled. There was a tender piece of me that remembers Mama's voice humming lullabies, Daddy fixing a leaky roof with calloused hands. There was also the memory of the kitchen that afternoon when my diploma meant less than the rag in Daddy's back pocket, and he tossed $10 at my feet like it could buy my leaving. I took a breath. The neighborhood smelled like rain on hot asphalt, the city's noise distant and muffled. I thought about the nights I'd been awake with migraines from too much coffee and too little sleep, learning to patch code like a seamstress mending a dress, the clients who'd trusted me when my last name meant nothing outside a small block. I thought of the bookstore where Ms. Wanda brought me catfish and told everyone about my computer magic. I thought of the sticky note on my laptop that read, "You don't need their approval to shine." $200,000 is a lot of money, I said, and I tried to let my voice be something other than a weapon. But I don't keep my success in the form you want. What do you mean? Daddy asked, confusion battling shame across his face. I mean, I'll help, but not like this. I leaned on the porch railing, feeling its splintered wood under my palm. You want me to bail you out? To write a check? To patch an old mistake with money? That doesn't fix anything. It only hides patterns. Marcus's face twisted. You think you're better than us? He spat. You always did. That's not what this is. I shook my head. I'm not interested in being your emergency fund. I'm interested in you not needing one again. Mama's tears were silent now. Tiana, please. We're losing everything. The house... Her voice broke on the last word. A small, bitter laugh escaped me. You lost a lot already. You lost the chance to be honest with me. You lost the chance to ask differently. You handed me a $10 bill and a door. You made your choices then. I made mine after. There was a pause long enough to hear the distant hum of a bus. Daddy's jaw jutted. Marcus's shoulders tightened. They were used to commands backed by guilt and cash. They weren't used to being asked to change. Here's what I'll do, I said finally. The words came from a place I didn't know I had until they were out. I'll come by the shop. I'll look at the books. I'll talk to Marcus, not as a judge, but as someone who knows how to help run things online. I'll show you how to set up online scheduling. I'll teach you how to take card payments. I'll help build a budget and an online presence. But I'm not writing a check. Mama's sob broke into the open then. Not loud, just ragged. She reached for me like she wanted to anchor a child she still somehow saw. But we need money now, she said. We don't have time for lessons. You had time for pride before, I said. You had time for excuses. Now you want quick fixes. I'm not the eraser for all your bad choices. Marcus slammed his fist on the porch rail. So this is a denial? After everything? His voice had the rawness of someone who'd been shown a mirror he didn't like. It's not denial. It's a boundary, I said, using the word I'd read about at midnight when I felt guilty for insisting on rules. You get help, but you earn it. You don't get to treat people like disposable tools and expect them to keep fixing your life with their money. Silence crawled across their faces in a slow, painful way. Mama looked at Daddy like she wanted permission to do what I asked. Daddy looked at Marcus like a disappointed man who'd bet on the wrong horse. Marcus looked at me like a child who'd been told no for the first time. Then something I didn't expect happened. Daddy reached into his pocket and pulled out an old photograph, the kind you get in a tiny envelope from a cheap photo place. He held it out to me with trembling hands. This was you, Tia, he said. His voice was small. You were proudest when you built toy cars out of scrap metal. You dreamed then. I took the picture. It was yellowed. Little me had oil on her hands, grin wide as a crescent moon. Underneath, someone had scribbled, "Our little inventor." Tears blurred my vision for a second. That child had been me. I'd carried that spark through park benches and coffee shops and the hum of dim libraries. I'd kept it when they'd made me small. You could have kept that from me when I left, I said, voice thin. Instead, you made me take a $10 bill and walk out the door. Daddy's eyes filled. I didn't know better. I thought letting you go would make you learn. We thought we were toughening you up. And you call that love? I snapped, then immediately softened. My anger wasn't a weapon I needed to brandish. It was a truth to speak. Toughening up isn't the same as supporting growth. It was messy and honest in a way I'd wanted them to be for years. They were human in the way people are when stripped of the armor of pretense. "I'll help," I said, the decision settling like a stone that could be balanced. "But not the way you expect. I'll teach you, and I'll put a team on it to get things online. Ms. Wanda will train your staff on the e-commerce side. I'll connect you with Mr. Hayes for supplier deals. You'll have to let me audit the books. If I see fraud or mismanagement, we fix that first. If you agree to that, real work, I'll do my part." Marcus scoffed. "So basically you want to run us?" "No," I said. "I want to show you how to run yourselves without wrecking everything." I met his eyes. "You want to be a man? Start by taking responsibility. Start by learning how to keep something you say you love." Mama reached for my hand. "We'll do it," she whispered. "We'll do whatever you ask." I believed her then, because belief was something people had to earn back slowly. It wasn't a single check that stitched up years of neglect. I stayed a month. I came to the shop twice a week, took apart their scheduling, set up a payment processor, showed Marcus how to respond to online inquiries without cussing. I stood in the shop and watched real change begin to take tiny, uneven steps. It wasn't pretty. It was work. It was accountability. On the day the bank offered them a short-term forbearance because my company had agreed to consult and restructure their offerings, Daddy hugged me with that clumsy, awkward embrace of a man who'd swallowed pride for something that felt like survival. Marcus said, "Tia, thanks." It wasn't much, but it was a start. When I left that week, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like I'd won anything by making them sweat. I felt like a woman who'd finally leveled the playing field and asked for something in return. Honesty, labor, respect. I got into my car, my own life's commodity, my proof pinned above my desk. And for the first time in a long while, I breathed easy. The house on the corner looked smaller from the driver's seat. The porch no longer held the same gravity. As the black SUV pulled away, Mom stood on the steps, hand over her heart. Daddy was beside her, then Marcus. They watched me go like people watching a train pull out, familiar, a little stunned, and realizing that sometimes the person who left is the person who learned to come back with the right map. I drove into traffic, windows down, the city a soft blur around me. I thought about the $10 bill still taped to my wall back at the loft, yellowed, corner bent. It was a talisman, not of bitterness, but of metamorphosis. That night I sat at my desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard. I didn't know if they would truly change. Maybe Marcus would stumble again. Maybe Daddy would slip into old habits. But for the first time since I was a kid, I felt a quiet sort of peace. Not the loud kind that comes from proving people wrong, but the steady kind that comes from living right by your own rules. I had not forgiven them completely. Forgiveness is a long road paved in daily trust, but I had set boundaries with love and stuck to them. I had built a bridge they could walk across only if they learned to hold their own weight. And that, more than any check, felt like justice.